Alright, welcome Ravens. Welcome back, actually not welcome back, welcome to the Raven Podcast, the first ever one. I'm your lovely host Joshua Brierly, one of the many hosts you're going to see on this podcast, and today we have a wonderful guest here, Mr. Reed.
Good morning. How you
Nice
doing?
to have you, Mr. Reed.
Thanks a lot for having me. Good to be here.
No problem. So, how have you been today?
Pretty good so far. A little
any-
chilly out, but good to be here.
Yeah, it's been cold, really cold the past couple days. Anything exciting happened today so far?
No, today's been just kind of routine so far
yeah.
until I arrived here for this wonderful interview.
Yeah, so we've been trying to get this going for the past week now. Sorry it's been such a delay.
Oh, that's good. I'm glad to be part of it.
So the first question I really want to ask you, Mr. Reed, who was your idol growing up?
I would say growing up, probably Neil Young.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of choices there, but yeah, I'd say Neil Young would be one of the big ones for me. I like that he's unrepentant with his music. He does whatever he wants all the time. Doesn't care what anybody thinks. Does a country album, does a rock album, does a blues album. He churns out a lot of music too, so there's a quantity of output. New albums about every 8 months sometimes. He's great live. I've seen him in concert a bunch of times. He can write a gentle love song and an angry protest song, and I think he's one of the best artists around.
I'd say Neil Young's one of the most legendary artists, I'd say, and like this, he's still around and he's still making music. His longevity, I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon.
And I think it's important that he's still making relevant music. Like, he's not just playing casinos and playing the hits from the 80s or something. Like, he's still making new music that's relevant and useful.
Yeah, and it goes to show that people like Neil Young and other musicians, if they're able to just keep going with the times, they're still able to be successful no matter when they were born or what generation they started
Hope I'm still
playing.
doing it when I'm in my 70s.
Hopefully. So, Mr. Reed, the next question is, who was your favorite band, or who is your favorite band right now, or in general?
Interesting question. That changes pretty regularly.
Yeah.
I would say going back to my childhood, Duran Duran, huge. Then I got into high school. Guns N' Roses was the big one. Appetite for Destruction, landmark album, really influenced me as a guitar player. And then by university, it was the Tragically Hip. A lot of Tragically Hip stuff.
The Tragically Hip I like the Hip. It's so, Gord Downey, bless his soul, he was an amazing musician, and the band, they were awesome. And it was so nice to see that they came from a very close city, just like from Kingston.
Yeah, and I was sort of lucky because I grew up in Gananoque.
Oh, yeah.
And so Gan was just like 15 minutes from Kingston.
You were lucky.
So I saw the Hip about 15 times in concert, and they were just always around. Sometimes we'd run into the guys like in coffee shops and stuff if we were in Kingston, and so it was pretty cool to be close to that.
Yeah, and it goes to show that old musicians aren't just some big celebrities.
Yeah.
All of them are just normal people, and you get to see them from the grocery store to, like you said, the coffee shop.
For sure.
It's pretty cool. Also, I heard that you mentioned guitar and that you like playing guitar. Is that your favorite instrument?
Yes, I would say that's my favorite instrument. I started playing piano when I was 5.
Oh, okay.
And then I started guitar when I was about 11.
Huh.
And I actually went to university for classical guitar. That was my major.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But I also play in rock and roll band, and I play in a jazz band, and so guitar, I'd say, is my number one instrument, but I still play a bit of piano and some bass, a bit of mandolin. I dabble in things, but guitar is like home base.
What's your favorite style of guitar like? Is it acoustic or electric, or what would it be?
That, I would say that changes from day to day.
Really?
Some days I'll really dive into jazz because I find it very cerebral. There's a lot of thinking and harmony and so on. But then other days I just want to crank it up and play good old rock and roll. Sometimes I'd rather just play an acoustic guitar around the campfire.
Yeah.
So yeah, that one changes daily.
Oh, so I'd say you like almost all the guitars, I guess.
Yes.
That's pretty interesting. So, speaking of the guitars and everything, and how you like playing music, what made you become a music teacher?
Well, when I started playing piano, I was, as I said, I was about 5 years old, and it felt a little stuffy.
Yeah.
You know, I was playing mostly classical music, and at 5 years old, that wasn't that exciting. And then I got into guitar and I started playing rock and roll. when I was 11 or 12. And rock and roll was definitely a lot more exciting. I had this great guitar teacher with, big 80s hair and leather pants, and it was like out of a movie.
You had a rock star as a teacher.
Yeah, his name's Matt. He's awesome. He's still one of the best guitar players I know.
That's awesome.
And then from there, as I got into high school and was kind of making my way through, I started to really think about the fact that I think I'm a good communicator. I think I'm good with kids. I'm good at explaining things, and I thought music is the thing I care the most about,
of course,
in the world. So maybe I could make a career out of sharing that with other people.
Yeah.
And so I had decided pretty early on that I wanted to be a music teacher.
That's awesome. So, with that being said, do you like being the music teacher?
I do. Yeah, I get out of bed every day and I like my job.
That's awesome. So, have you always been here at Eastside, or what was your jobs before this school?
Well, when I was at Queen's for music and teachers college, I did a practice teaching round over at Centennial.
That's awesome.
And it just worked out that while I was doing my practice teaching, the music teacher who was there at the time, Mr. Emerson, was about to retire.
Oh.
So I got a job right out of university, which is unheard of these days.
Yeah.
But at 24 years old, I inherited the music program at Centennial, and I taught there for 19 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Talk about being at the right place at the right time.
Yeah, it really worked out well. And then when they closed Quinty and everything was kind of shuffling around, there was an opportunity for movement.
Oh, yeah.
And I had heard that there were about 75 kids here at Eastside signed up for guitar.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be 3 full-time guitar classes.
That's a couple classes.
Yeah,
right there.
plus band and choir. And I thought, you know what, maybe it's time to try something a little different. So I took the jump, and I love it here. I've been really happy that I made the switch. It was refreshing to try something a little different.
That's awesome. Have you been liking your stay here?
I love it.
That's
I'm
awesome.
really happy here.
So, out of school, out of being a teacher, Mr. Reed, do you have any hobbies that you enjoy?
Yeah, I would say, well, obviously spending time with my family.
Yeah.
I'm a dad. I got a couple of kids who are teenagers. So my son's in second year university. My daughter's in grade 12, heading off to university.
Cool.
My wife is also a teacher.
Wow.
My favorite thing in the world other than music is getting up to my cottage. I have a cottage on Charleston Lake.
Oh, yeah.
And so we go up there pretty much every weekend in May, June, September, October, and a lot of the summer.
I'm guessing it's beautiful.
Yeah,
it's
pretty amazing. It's calm and quiet, and that's where I like to be whenever I can.
Oh, yeah. So, in hobbies, do you play in any bands or anything?
I do, yeah. Well, not with COVID. I haven't played in a long time, but pre-COVID, I play in a rock and roll band.
Oh, what are they called?
A bar band. It's called the Charlie Bird Band.
Oh, okay.
And Charlie has been a singer in this area for decades. The rest of the guys in the band are quite a bit older than me. Like, they're all pushing 60. And they were playing in bars when I was a baby.
Oh, wow.
So I've been really lucky to get into that band as the young guy.
You seem lucky.
I love playing with those guys. So I look forward to getting back to, playing gigs, places like the Red Lion and the Tweedsmuir, and just a bar band kind of thing. I also play jazz.
Wow.
In the Commodores, which is a local jazz and swing band that's been around since the 30s.
The 30s?
Yeah, they started during the war.
Oh, my.
And that's a 17-piece band with a full horn section.
And they've been going around since the 30s? That's incredible.
And no original members, obviously.
Oh.
but the band as a concept has existed. And then I play a bit with my wife, who's a great singer. We do some duo stuff sometimes. And I just try to keep busy.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you do out besides going to your cottage and playing in bands? Yeah,
I really like to write. I write a weekly column for the Intelligencer reviewing music.
Oh, that's cool.
And then also do a bit of writing on the side, just like poetry and other types of writing, songwriting, things like that. So.
Have you written any popular songs, Mr. Reed?
Nothing that you would have heard, no. It's just more for me.
Maybe if we're lucky enough, maybe we could hear a piece of your music one time.
Yeah,
later
that'd
on
be
in
great.
life. That'd be awesome.
The music market right now is not geared for guys in their mid-40s with a wife and kids. I don't really fit the image of being a star. So I just make music for myself.
You don't have to become a star. You could at least try to write, at least play some music, get it recorded.
Yeah, I've got a studio at home, so I do recording in my basement.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you do your own recordings at home?
I putter away at that all the time.
That's awesome. So Mr. Reed, the next question I have, it's a pretty big topic. Everybody's been kind of affected by it. How has COVID affected your life?
I think like everybody, it's been dramatic. First and foremost has been the sort of health side of things. My wife is diabetic and also a teacher, and so diabetics are in the really high risk group if they get COVID. Like it's like a 30% mortality rate or something.
Oh, that's crazy.
So she's been teaching from home since the first lockdown, and my kids are both home. My daughter will be home anyway, but my son came home from Queens. So
that's good.
The four of us are together, and we don't see anybody. We've been living in that bubble really carefully to protect my wife.
It's probably been crazy being in that little bubble.
Yeah, well, in a way, but also it's kind of been a gift because my son had moved away a year ago, and we thought he was off to start his life, and then he came home again, and he's very musical as well, so we have a lot of fun jamming in the basement and stuff. The teaching side of things took a little getting used to the online teaching, but I feel like I'm pretty good at it now. Just comes with practice. Yeah,
because I was going to say it'd probably affect your online teaching if you were trying to teach music through a computer.
It was a little tricky, yeah. It took a little finesse to get used to sort of working camera angles and things so the kids could see my hands when I'm playing guitar and stuff.
Yeah.
But definitely happy to be back here at school.
Oh yeah,
it's a whole lot easier to sit across the table and show you something.
Yeah, instead of having to keep your web camera down and trying to show people how to play a certain chord on the guitar.
Well, and I find too, I mean, a big part of teaching is reacting to what the students are doing.
Yeah.
And even subtle things like a facial expression or body language, when we're doing online teaching, a lot of the time the cameras are off.
Yeah.
So if I say something and you kind of like look at me weird, then I'll be like, okay, do you understand that, Josh? Whereas at home, if I'm in the basement and your camera's off and I say something and I don't have that facial recognition, I don't feel that it's as good a connection, obviously. Maybe that goes without saying, but yeah, it's good to be back.
Yeah, no, I get where you're coming from too, because when I was doing the online schooling, I actually had Mr. Doyle in his computers class, and I found it pretty difficult because, well, not too difficult, because we had Mr. Doyle showing us what to do and like presenting it on the computer, but the only hard part I feel like that came with that was actually using the applications that we were supposed to use. Say like Photoshop or something, Doyle couldn't show us how to use the tools while we were trying to use the same program. It caused a bunch of confliction. But now that we're back at school, we basically have an awesome classroom with Mr. Doyle able to help everybody now without the extra difficulty of not being able to see each other.
Yeah, and we got this nice new setup here for video podcasting. We got some sweet new computers out there, so things are good. Yeah,
everything's trending around now ever since we came back from school. Yeah. This was actually a pretty cool addition, this podcasting room.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. I hope we get a lot of use out of it.
I hope we do too. Well, Mr. Reed, speaking of use, this was an awesome podcast, and I hate to break it to you, but we're running out of time here, Mr. Reed. It's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I'm so glad to have seen you on here.
Thanks. I look forward to seeing the final product.
Yes, I hope that we're able to see you again on the show.
I'll be around for sure.
Thanks again, Mr. Reed. It's awesome to have you.
See ya.
Awesome.